Hello, this is John Cullen. Welcome to another I Am John Cullen podcast. This episode is going to address a question that I see rather frequently when I go on YouTube and I look at other research done by major media, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, CNN. When you read the comments or you read other comments on Twitter about the Las Vegas shooting, often I see questions, whatever happened? What happened in Las Vegas? As if people are still trying to figure out, I don't quite buy this Stephen Paddock story, but what did happen? Although we've produced, 240, 250 videos so far, I haven't really put out a video that addresses front to back. What do we think happened? And in this video, we're going to do that. We're not going to talk about who did it. We're just going to look at what happened. The first step, what's wrong with the narrative? Is there a problem with the narrative? And how do we determine that? That first step begins by, let's assemble the facts of the case.
So this is the report that the FBI...
The FBI announced its inquiry into the 1 October mass shooting is complete without any conclusion on why.
No clear motive in the 1 October shooting. The FBI issuing its final report today.
Today, after nearly 16 months of investigation, the FBI has found no specific motive.
This is the FBI's report on the Las Vegas shooting, October 1st, 2017. It's about 2.5 pages long, and that's the complete report. So when we see these tweets on Twitter or questions in the comment sections in YouTube on other videos, typically people are asking, what happened? And that's because people doubt that Stephen Paddock acted alone. People aren't buying the narrative. And so the first question is, why is that? Why is it that so many people doubt that Stephen Paddock acted alone? Why is it that so many people question the narrative? That's the first question we have to answer. The answer to the first question is really the construct for the second question, and that is, why do so many people suffer from cognitive dissonance when presented with the narrative of the Las Vegas shooting? And that's really what's happening, is when presented with the narrative, people are feeling cognitive dissonance. They're saying, wait, that doesn't feel right, that doesn't sound right, that's not consistent with what I'm seeing. So let's define cognitive dissonance before we go much further. What is cognitive dissonance? It's a certain type of feeling that you get when you see something that's not right, or you hear something that's not consistent with what you've seen. And I'm going to show you a couple examples that should trigger cognitive dissonance in you right now. So let's take a look at a couple examples of cognitive dissonance.
What happens when what you see and what you think you see are two different things? A door in the middle of a park.
People are wondering, where did the guy go? I'm wondering, why is there a door in a park?
I loved the disappearing through the door gag. It truly tricked me.
What you have here is an example of cognitive dissonance, that what you think happened and what you saw happen do not match. And it creates this anxious feeling because it doesn't make sense to you.
I would have done the exact same thing as many of these people did. I would have stood up, I would have researched it because I like to be tricked.
What takes place in this experiment is what's known as psychological misdirection. It's a magician's best friend. It's by diverting your attention one way, they can do a sleight of hand the other way.
They may think that person is gone, like disappeared from the face of the earth and is in some other land right now.
Now, depending on what's at stake, the way cognitive dissonance makes you feel will vary. So if what's at stake is something that's not that big a deal, we tend to laugh at the cognitive dissonance. And that's what magic is. Magic is cognitive dissonance. It's when you see something that shouldn't be. And that feeling that we get from it is exactly cognitive dissonance. But because so little is at stake, we don't get upset. We don't get visibly disturbed necessarily, and we find it entertaining. I'm going to show you two examples. The first example, there's not much at stake, so the cognitive dissonance is entertaining. The second example, a little bit different.
Awesome. So we're going to try something with the Rubik's Cube. We're going to mix it up on all 6 sides. Now there's 43 quintillion different ways you can mix it up, so watch that close. Completely mix it up, one-handed in the bag as fully as possible. Back to solve. I think you have a guess on how I do that, right? Some people guess there's a second cube in the bag. I will prove the bag is empty. Look, I'll check. Completely empty. Completely empty.
Can I look in it?
Absolutely. Very good. Simon, I'm going to do something that's never been done before on TV. Simon, can you actually mix up that Rubik's Cube? Turn it as much as you want. Now, every time you turn it, that's a different one of those 43 quintillion permutations. Simon, whenever you're happy, I will take the cube that you just mixed up and put it back in the bag. Watch that close. Simon's mixed up Rubik's Cube.
Well, that's incredible.
That would be an amazing trick if there was not a second Rubik's Cube in the bag. But that's not the trick. I'm making sure you're still paying attention. Simon, can you actually cover it up on all 6 sides? Cover it up? Perfect, like that. Yeah. Now, when you think of a solved Rubik's Cube, what do you actually picture?
Solids.
Colors, right? What if I told you that I found a different solution to the Rubik's Cube? Watch close. Right about there. See, the different solution was to match the Rubik's Cube that Simon mixed up 30 seconds ago.
You have.
No.
So if I did match it, you're going to notice we have one side that's going to be a completely perfect match.
Magic is real.
Better than one side, though. That's going to be side number 2. That is 3. That is 4. That is 5. That is all 6 sides a completely perfect match.
Now that's an example of cognitive dissonance where not that much is at stake. It's a Rubik's Cube. So whether or not it's correct or not, or whether or not it matches or not, there's not that much at stake. Now what happens if we step up the illusion to something where there's a little bit more at stake? What does cognitive dissonance feel like? Let's take a closer look at that. Let's raise the stakes a bit and see what does cognitive dissonance feel like using magic. What we know from studying cognitive biases is that as the stakes are raised, the degree of cognitive dissonance increases. And so in this clip, we raise the stakes. David Blaine is going to perform.
Through this area over here?
Yeah, it's like all different places it comes out.
Right.
And what's at stake now is a whole lot more than just a Rubik's Cube. So watch closely and get in touch with the feelings that you get watching this, because this is similar to the feelings that you get when we start talking about the LVMPD forging evidence. It's a similar feeling of discomfort. The feeling of disbelief, the feeling of incredulity, the feeling of dismissal, confusion, anger, it's very common and it's normal. You're being presented with something that shouldn't be, that shouldn't happen based on everything you've ever known, everything you've learned. All of your life experiences tell you that what you're seeing shouldn't be happening. And this is very similar to the feeling that you get when we start talking about that the Las Vegas Metro Police Department forge evidence. The feelings are very similar, and that's cognitive dissonance. Thank you for listening to this portion of this podcast. The full podcast can be found at patreon.com. I am John Cullen. And for as little as $1 a month, you can support our efforts.